Hello, faith leaders, and welcome to Breaktime. Today, we're in Psalm 6, 3:6. Listen to this. I will not fear, though tens of thousands assail me on every side. I will not fear. This is David. Now remember, David's situation was not he was in this beautiful palace and had servants serving him day and night. Nope. David was being persecuted. He was being sought after, and there were people chasing him. He felt his enemies, and he pens this beautiful, beautiful scripture that I think we all need to put either on our desk or on our refrigerator or on our mirrors in the bathroom somewhere that says, I will not fear. Do you hear the choice that David's making there? I will not fear. I'm sure he had to say that more than one time, though tens of thousands chasing him, after him, because he knew we listened to yesterday and the day before, that David's sustainability did not come as a result of any other resource than God. And he realized that God was his shield, his protection around him. And so he sat in the midst of his persecution and says this scripture that says, I will not fear. And so fear is not a true thing that happens, by the way. Fear is something that we're often afraid of that really is not in existence, but we're afraid of its existence. And so grace comes, mercy comes when persecution does come and it tramples into your way. That's where the Lord gives us grace. But if we're fearing, all we are doing is looking at the enemy and trying to fight the enemy in our own strength, which is being evaporated by fear. Fear is a negative energy that we get in the midst of dangerous situations, when all we can focus on, all we can see is the enemy overcoming us. But David said something different. I will not fear, because instead of fearing, David took that energy, that source that comes up inside of us and tries to destroy us, and puts it into the knowledge of God's presence that is with him. It diverts from the situation. It's not that the situation has disappeared, it's still there. But in the midst of the situation, his eyes were focused on whom? On the Lord. This reminds me of Peter walking out. He was the one that stepped out of the boat, and for a second there, he was fearless. It's because fear didn't grab him, because his eyes and his mind were focused on the source of his strength, instead of allowing that emotion to control him to the place where it brought him back into the boat. And he started to sink. Because you know why? He looked at the waves. So children of God, what are you looking at? What consumes your mind? Could you speak to those situations and say, I will not fear, even though tens of thousands may chase me, because the Lord is my sustainer? And come back tomorrow, because we're going to even hear a little bit more of what the Lord does. When we call out to him, children, he sustains us. Are you calling out to him in the midst of your fear and speaking out, I will not fear?